Alright, welcome everybody. This is the second part of our series of lessons on using and citing sources. So for this lesson we're going to be talking about making the actual citations. We'll talk a fair bit about making some in-text citations and also point you to the resource of using the citationmachine.net website. Okay, so about this whole citation thing. The main point is that you need to give credit where credit is due. If you think about the movies, for a movie, not only do the important actors and directors get credit at the beginning of the movie, at the end of the movie, if you're willing to sit through all of the credits, and most of the time we don't, but if you do, you will see the name of all the people who were involved, all the way down to the guy who gets coffee, because everyone's work needs to be recognized. And that's the same thing here. The sources that you're using, people took lots of time, lots of effort and energy to research, write, and publish this material. So you need to be respectful of that and to give credit to that. The other part of it is that we as your teachers want to see what you've researched. We want to see the work that you put into it. And so when you put down all of the sources that you've researched, that's your way of showing the effort that you have put into it, the time that you have taken to do the research, to read and to understand the material, and to include it in your classwork that you submit. So you want to make sure that you cite all of those sources so that we can see all the hard work that you put into your lessons. And sources should get credit in the same manner as you do in the movies. In the text, you're going to give credit to the important directly used sources. So using in-text citations, so things that you've summarized, paraphrased, or quoted, you want to make sure that you use in-text citation for all of those things so that you are indicating that sources come from an outside, that material has come from an outside source. And you want readers to be able to refer to your works cited page and find the full citation for the work that you are using. And on your works cited page, you want to give credit to all the sources that you've used, including those that you even just referenced along the way. So we have a full picture of all the sources that you've used. The type of citation that you're going to be using is APA. That's short for the American Psychological Association. It's the most commonly used form of citation in social sciences. So in history, government and economics, psychology and sociology, topics like that, you're going to use APA citation. Another common form is MLA, something you will likely use in your language arts or English classes. But for what we're doing in history and for your other classes in social sciences, you will most likely be using the APA format. Okay, so making the in-text citation. For the in-text citation, you usually have two choices in how you do it. You can include the author's last name in the sentence in which you're introducing the topic, or you can include the author's last name in the parenthesis at the end of your sentence. So, for example, if you use the sentence with the name included, then you would say, so author history date stated that America is made of 50 states, in the parentheses 2004. If you were not going to use the author's last name in the sentence, then it would be America is made of 50 states, and then in the parentheses you would include the author's last name along with the publication date. If you're continuing with an in-text citation, other author situations, if you have two authors, then you would include both of the last name for both of the authors using the and symbol. If you have 3 to 5 authors, you would list them all using parentheses with the and symbol before the last author. And if you were to have 6 or more authors for the publication that you're citing, which doesn't seem too likely for most of you guys at this point, you would include the last name from the first author listed and then et al. So kind of symbolizing the remainder of the authors, and then include with that the publication date. A few other situations in which you would use in-text citation. So when you have authors with the same last name, so if you had one article by English teacher and one article by math teacher, you would want to make sure that you included their first initial. So when you were citing English teacher, it would be E period teacher, and then the publication date. So that way, if you have more than one authors with the same last name, that way you can distinguish between them. If you have a source where an organization is the author, for example, something published by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, you would put the organization's name there in place of the author. And if there was no known author, you would include the title of the book or the article or the visual image or something like that. There's one aspect that's different when you're making in-text citation for things that are directly quoted from your source. You want to make sure that you include the page number. So it follows essentially the same format as what we discussed earlier with in-text citation. You just need to make sure that at the end of the quote, whether you've included the author's name in the sentence or it's at the end of the sentence in the parentheses, you need to make sure you include the page number from the quote. It's very important. So that way, whoever is reading the paper can reference the page numbers that you use in cross-checking the information you've included in your assignment. So there's a few differences when you're using in-text citation for electronic materials. So by and large, you want to use the same rules whenever possible, but there will be some exceptions. Oftentimes websites will not have a publication date for specific articles, so if that's the case, then you would use no date or the abbreviation N period D period. So as opposed to the date of publication, you would just do ND. And if there are no page numbers, you want to use the paragraph numbers. So often with websites, there is not, there's not page numbers. It's just one long article that you scroll down through. So you need to use the paragraph numbers. And if the paragraphs are not numbered, then you just count them yourself. Most web articles are not so long that that's too difficult of a task. So make sure that you count paragraphs, and then you would include that in place of the page number. Alright, then for your works cited page, so at the top of the page here is the website www.citationmachine.net. So you students here in the 21st century, you are extremely lucky. This website is a very useful and very good tool for you to utilize in making citations for the sources that you find. It allows you to put in some basic information, and it spits out a perfectly set up citation for you that you can just copy and paste into your assignments. So I would encourage you to go to the website. This is kind of a basic set of directions that will be helpful to you. To begin the citation from the main page, you have to choose the different styles. So for social studies, you would want to choose the APA style, and then you have to choose your source type. There'll be a series of tabs that list different types of resources, books, articles, newspapers, websites, etc. So choose the type of source that you're using, and then to create the citation, I would encourage you to begin with the autofill mode. So you would include the title, author. If it's a website, you can include the web address, and then you search, and it will bring up a list of options, and then you can choose from among the options that they present. Usually, if you have a lot of information, it'll just be one choice that they'll post for you there. Then the second part of it is that they will show you if it's missing any information, and if it is, you'll continue on to the next page, and then you can add any of that information that you might be able to find by actually looking at the website or the physical resource that you have. If you have no luck with the autofill mode, you can do manual entry, and that will just prompt you with a series of boxes to fill in information to the best of your ability, however you can find it from whatever resource you happen to be using. To save the citation, once you have filled out all of the boxes as to the best of your ability, at the bottom you will click on Make Citation. And then once the citation is made, you can copy and paste. And please note that you can toggle between the works cited and the parenthetical citation. And so you can make copies of both of those. So both your in-text and your works cited page citations. You would open your Word document or PowerPoint or whatever it is, and then click Paste, and that will paste your newly completed citation into your assignment. I've included this page here as a practice assignment for you, just to kind of give you a chance to, and I would encourage you to practice this using the citation machine page. If you have any questions about using the citation machine page, please contact me. You can contact me by email or come to my office hours at any time during the week, and I'd be happy to help you review making citations using the citation machine website. Also, just as a note to you, in the live class sessions material folder, there's a folder I'm on using and citing sources, and in that folder you will find a PDF document and a link to the citation machine website. So the PDF document covers what we talked about during the first lesson on using sources, and also this lesson here as well on citing sources. Alright, so I want to thank you very much for your time. You can take your time and leave this up and go back and forth to watch, check out some material if you need help completing these practice ones. Elsewise, I hope this was helpful to you, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a good day.